Episode 8, The Essential Sara Bareilles with Michela Macfarlane. Music by Grover Anderson. Hey everybody, my guest this week is Michela Macfarlane, and she's my bandmate, but she's my bandmate in Cantamos. She wants to come to this week, and we're going to talk about Sara Bareilles. So, tell me how you got started in music. How did you first become a singer?
Right. Well, singer or on stage?
Either one.
Okay. Because to me, they all are related. So I will say on stage, like age 2, dance lessons.
Okay.
I was dancing in Florida as a little kid. And pretty much through age 16. Singing, I started, I would say, because my dad, when we moved to Connecticut when I was 5, my dad wanted to join a church. We weren't necessarily ultra religious, but he wanted to join the church to sing in the choir himself.
Okay.
So we did that at First Congregational Church in Ridgefield, Connecticut. And I joined the children's choir and started singing there. And I know there's pictures of me like with just a unhappy look, wearing angel's wings and dressed up. But yeah, I still remember some of those songs, like 100% Chance of Rain. They were all like Bible stories put to words, or these like religious children's musical type things. But yes, so that, and then...
so what was your experience doing church, like with church music? Did you get like lessons of like vocal instruction and vocal coaching, or is it just kind of like, here's the stuff and just kind of sing along?
Yeah, I think we just learned it. And I'm trying to remember when I first started reading music. I don't know if it was that early. I think I remember having the book with the sheet music in it. So I must have started learning at that young age, before 10, reading stuff. Yes, for sure. But I just remember Jane Wilmont, who was the director at that time, and yeah, just in the choir room with her and learning the songs.
Okay, so you did get like specific like breath control and...
Yeah, maybe not so much at that age. It was more, I think, in junior high. I joined this class. It was an elective called Fame.
Okay.
And I remember my first solo was The Simple Joys of Maidenhood from Camelot. And I think like that, at that time, I started kind of working on more of technique
stuff.
Things.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say.
So we got some church background for singing. We've got some school background for singing. Did your parents put you through private instruction too? Did you have private teachers?
Yeah, so in high school, which was a very incredible music program at Monte Vista High School in Cupertino.
Okay.
Where we had early morning choir, 7 a.m. I went through the ranks, and by my senior year, I was in like the
ultra special
be-all,
elite.
end-all madrigals. We do 90 performances in December kind of thing.
Wow.
So yeah, I can't remember if it was my junior year, senior year, where I started taking voice lessons with, she was a mom from someone in the school, Kay DeVries. Anyway, I started taking lessons with her and learning like Italian art songs and German, Strauss, whatever. Just started in on the languages.
Sure.
At that time, probably before, because I took French in high school. So maybe, French was my first language, and I just started singing.
So in the past on this show, I've said that people usually come from their musical background from one of 4 places. It's either like a musical family, church, private lessons, or just school. And it sounds like they're all 4 for you. Your dad wanted to be a singer. You took some private lessons. You did a lot of stuff in school, and you did a bunch of stuff at church. So you've really got the support for your musicianship from kind of all the places I think it comes from for a young person.
All directions, yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Sure. Yeah.
And then going back into your singing in Italian and German, you speak multiple languages. And that's kind of a big deal in Cantamos, as we sing a lot of songs that are not in English, and French, Portuguese, Spanish, German. We don't sing a song in German. Do you speak German?
I took German very briefly
Okay.
when I was learning a German Baroque opera when I was living in Boston, and that whole part of my life. So I'm officially fluent, I'm using air quotes here, in Italian. I did a year abroad there in college. My brother studied in Poitiers in France for his junior year, and when we went to Europe to visit him, I'm like, I am doing this. I'm going to Italy because I'm half Italian, and my middle name is Michela. My first name is Dana, but when I started college, I started going by Michela. And I just had this identity with Italy. So I ended up going there to Venice. They chose the place. It was either Venice, Bologna, or...
So is this AFS?
Padova. Through UC system. I was at UC San Diego, and they offer
because you're already in college, right?
Study abroad, yeah. Anyway, so Italian, French, I had the high school education. And then just... any repertoire that I was doing, I was singing classical music and Baroque music later when I went to graduate school for an degree in early music, vocal performance, for 3 years. Yes, so we would not only would sing Latin, but we would do like, what kind of Latin? The French or Italianate or just pure Latin? Like it was all of these specific nuances within the one language. Or same thing, like Italian has dialects, like I learned some random Venetian dialect phrases when I was there. I always had kind of an ear for imitating sounds. I'll just put that. I always had that. So,
yeah, so kind of a natural polyglot ability.
Yes, and I like trying to get as close to it as I can. So I do not speak Portuguese. I don't even speak Spanish, which I'm embarrassed to say. I've been meaning to learn it for years. But given my Italian and French, can fake my way through, but still, I am good at imitating the sounds from listening to it, either listening to just other performers sing those particular songs, or we also, in high school, a little bit of it, we learned the phonetic alphabet, with all you're learning the symbols.
N-A-L-A, right. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So when I would learn a song from a voice teacher, whatever, I would write in the particular vowels, and I could read that as a language as well, an additional musical language beyond the notation. It's how to pronounce the words.
Sure.
So yeah, I did learn that more so. I took classes in that in my graduate school years at Longy School of Music in Boston and Cambridge.
Yeah, I've always just struggled with the structure, like sentence structure and conjugation of verbs and things like that. Like I'm pretty good at like understanding nouns, and knowing what things are called, but learning how to really form a sentence that's coherent has always been tricky for me. I've always struggled with that for other languages. But I also think that I can copy the sound. Like I can pick up accents and copy accents real quickly, but I just can't fake the actual language, Yeah.
No, I've done that so many times speaking with the British. It's just suddenly, I know, and I start taking it on or sounding like they are, whatever they are, wherever they're from. And then they'll say, where are you from? You have an accent, I can tell.
Boston. Yeah.
And they'll say, where were you born? I was born in England. Oh, that's what it is. But I moved when I was 3 months old, so I don't have an English accent. But I will often say, I would call it a singer's accent because I'm taught to make many different sounds with my mouth and different shapes and all that, and articulate in certain ways, and depending on who I'm talking to or whatever context I'm in, I will just morph into, I don't know, whatever it calls for.
Sure.
Kind of thing.
Well, that makes a lot of sense then with the background, and that these things kind of gear up together where they're complementary skills. That your knack for language is through study, but your knack for accents and sounds is really more from the singer side of things. So that's really neat.
Yes, and travel too, I will say.
Well, that's right. And you do our work. You just got back from Japan.
Yes.
So how'd that go?
Arigato gozaimashita. Just the tones. Yes, it was amazing. I didn't learn all that much, but I did definitely got a few phrases nailed. But yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy just hearing different languages and.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to realize that the world really is not that big. It's a pretty small place.
Yes.
And to kind of, on the one hand, understand that it is a small place and that we have these deep cultural things that are so regional and to quit thinking about it like national and government and politics, but think of it more as regions.
Yes.
You know, the Japanese language survived because it's an island. The Korean language survived because of mountain geography. Most of European languages, for being Europe's a pretty small place relative to the United States. Mm-hmm. But you get there and you think about the geography and how these mountain ranges and bodies of water and things like that have maintained these cultural languages and all kinds of culture. German culture is very different from French culture, than Italian culture, than Polish culture. I mean, and these are places that are smaller than many U.S. states. Mm-hmm. You know, it's. Can you imagine if the United States, like each state, had that depth of culture?
Oh my gosh, no.
I mean, like, it's kind of unreal to us to think about it, but yeah, there's lots of states, you know, like the size of Ohio, sort of a medium-sized state that's about the average size of a European nation. Mm-hmm. And imagine that they just had this whole thing that happened there that didn't happen anywhere else, that was totally unique, in a language that's totally unique. And,
exactly. And I really enjoyed that when I was living in Italy for those 10 months. I want to go to Krakow for the weekend, and I'd get a train ticket and I would go. And
you arrive 300 miles away in a completely different culture.
Yes.
You know, we're 350 miles from LA, and it's a different culture than this region up here. I mean, certainly LA culture is different than Tuolumne or Calaveras County culture, but not in the same way that European cultures are different. There's much more disparity in how you dress and how you behave and what time dinner is and all kinds of like eating times. Like the Spanish have a very
10 p.m. You're just tucking into like a 2.5 hour meal. Oh yeah.
So I just find that super endearing and charming, and kind of wish the United States had, you know, had a little more, you know, less Applebee's in every city and more something unique. But that's just America, I guess. All right, so how does this tie into Sara Bareilles? What about her career, with your background, made you choose her?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's her voice. There's just something about her. I don't know if I see myself mirrored in aspects of what she is, but just her clarity of sound, her phenomenal range, just super low lows to crystal clear highs in a seamless way that she delivers it. She's also she had a musical theater background. She can tell the story.
Yeah, I think she's a very emotional singer. Maybe not in her sound, but just when I listen to her, I feel things that I don't feel a lot, you know, from other vocalists. There's a way in her delivery that's so subtle and nuanced.
Yes.
And it's very hard to describe what it is, other than I think that she sings it and feels that as she's singing that note, as she's singing that word, she feels it and lets herself really get into the moment, and it can't help but be projected out with what she's doing. It's not just a performance. She's really sharing something kind of intimate with large audiences when she does it, and isn't afraid to go there. And that's a very vulnerable thing to do. Yes,
and doing this deep dive, when you asked me to do this, and I'm like, well, Sara Bareilles, I didn't even hesitate who I would choose. But then, like, going into and preparing for today, just how much I learned about her, like, it wasn't always easy. I mean, very scary to make these leaps and do what she does, but it all basically boils down to being able to speak your truth, know that your opinion matters, right? And so for her to own that, and to just get, the more she sheds all of whatever noise, toxicity, whatever it is that everyone deals with on a day-to-day basis, and just to get to the heart of the matter, which is you, a lot of people are scared to go there, right? Yeah. And she has, like, the stories that I've read, she's been scared too, but she works her way out of it, and then she delivers these masterpieces. But just her, it is, this richness. You can't box it. You know, that was the one thing with the record companies. Oh, well, you can't put her in pop. She's not this, she's not that. And of course she's not. I mean,
right. I mean, really, she's a contemporary musical theater girl. You know, I mean, like, really, if you want to describe what she is, like I think that a a lot of her tunes and a lot of her piano style, even for how she writes, is very musical theater inspired. And then she got a really good producer for that first breakout album with I Don't Want a Love Song on it. I think that they layered a bunch of other stuff really creatively to, I don't want to say bury her musical theater piano playing, but I think it was very complimentary and made it to be able to be on the radio for an audience like that.
To market it in that way.
Years later, a lot of her solo performances and, you know, things that she does where she's more exposed and she just plays piano and sings, you can really see like, oh, this is a girl who kind of grew up in that world. And I think that it's really worked well for her. That she's got the right people around her to help her produce albums that get good radio play, even though I'm trying to avoid sounding negative because I don't mean to sound negative, but she's not a Billy Joel and Elton John piano player. She's not like a rocker kind of style. That's just not where she comes from. And I don't mean that to be disparaging at all. It's just a different world, and a world that I don't think a lot of people have been successful with her piano playing style. One of her favorite contemporaries to work with is John Legend, who has a much more soul, bluesy, jazzy piano style, and hers is just more in that American musical theater style, and I think that's probably one of the reasons they're complement so well when they collaborate. They've done it at least 2 major times that I know of.
John Legend.
Yeah, John Legend.
Yeah. It is interesting too, just seeing who she will end up working with or honoring, and just like Elton John, like playing.
Yeah, one of our crossovers that you'll find out about.
Yeah, exactly. But and John Legend, who's also phenomenal.
Yeah,
Carole King, like she's done tributes to her, and just she's so well respected. That's the thing. Like, it's not her goal to be this like mega superstar. That was never what she wanted, and I think just getting to work with people that she loves and admires and emulates, but just whatever. It's all...
Well, and she got there by being good, which is kind of like, there's a certain Cinderella story to her actual career that is really interesting and respectable to me. She did it by being good. And a lot of times I think, young, especially female artists, get there by being better than good, but not amazing, but they look fantastic. They've got a marketability physically. And I don't think Sarah's ever had to dig into her physical appearance to help her be a musician. And I think that's very respectable in a music industry where success in the broader...
It's like the whole package.
Yeah, it's a whole package.
I mean,
kind of thing.
She did it her own way and is phenomenal at it and owns it, and just didn't put up with that. Can I swear on this or not?
I avoid it.
Okay. Yes.
But what's interesting is about that is in her live shows, because I hadn't listened to you. Were you at that concert at the Hollywood Bowl by any chance? Is that why you picked him?
No, but I saw it at the Chase Center in San Francisco.
Okay.
The Amidst the Chaos tour.
So she's not afraid to her lyrics and her songs are not, but there's a certain authenticity to her genuinely being excited with her audience and how she interacts, and I think that's also endearing. I don't know. I like people who use profanity casually. I find that people who are able to do that without being offensive and use it in casual conversation are picking those words to express something more than the normal words we use, or not filtering
exactly
to be politically correct.
Not in an over the top way. She's just hilarious.
Yeah,
it's authentic. I'll keep using that word today too. But she is just.
Yeah.
Funny girl.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to dig into her a little bit more, having done the research, because I'm familiar with a lot of the tunes, especially the tunes that have been on the radio. Like, I know those songs, but I didn't know a lot about her, because we were talking yesterday, we played a show last night, and I had sworn that somebody told me that her early career was based on like social media success, that she was like getting on YouTube and that's how she got popular. But when I actually looked that up, that doesn't seem to be the case at all.
Yeah. Nope.
And but she did it mostly just by gigging in LA, a very tough town to have any kind of success in and get noticed. You have to be an exceptional performer.
Yes.
To get any kind of traction in that town. Mm-hmm. And she did.
I don't know what age she auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club, but she did and did not go down that route. She wasn't accepted. But like so did, I was looking at a list of so many people. It was J-Lo's husband, Ben Affleck. He even auditioned.
Oh, wow.
The list is hilarious. But yeah, someone had pointed out if she'd gone down that road, like what would her life look like? It's so interesting to think about that. But yes, so she was at UCLA and just was gigging for the sheer love of it, right? And
right. And a lot of like just solo, just piano and her.
Piano and her.
And did it without a full band around her by and large. And
for a long time, yeah.
Yeah. And she's just a year younger than me, so she'll be 45 sometime this year. And in my mind, she seems a little bit younger than me, but probably because she didn't get on my radar till I was a little older. Mm-hmm. But for me, she's like a direct contemporary for a career, and I'd trade her in a second, you know? So that's really cool, and I have a lot of respect for her writing style and the lyrics that she engages with and everything else. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll start talking about these tunes.
Looking forward to it.
All right. So we each picked 10 songs to talk about, and we have a few crossovers, as we usually do on this show. So the process is I'll talk about my number 10 song first, and then you'll talk about yours, and we'll go kind of count down to one. And I don't think either of us really put these songs in an order specifically. We'll worry about an order kind of at the end.
Yes, I could not.
Yeah. Well, I think it was probably for you tough to just get down to 10, much less put them in an order.
I was like at 25, and anyway, yes.
Yeah. So my first song, my number 10, I picked Brave, which is one of her more popular radio hit tunes. And, you know, it's again, it talks about her young womanhood and the idea of being brave. I mean, it's really what it is, and how it's a respectable trait, and how it's been used for like some anti-bullying campaigns in the LA area.
Do you read anything about who produced this with her and who co-wrote it? So Jack Antonoff.
Okay.
Who is Taylor Swift's main producer, right. Co-writer guy who's produced, I don't know how many of her last albums, quite a few of them.
Okay.
Who's a musician in and of himself. But she collaborated with him on this song, and it came the actual music part of it, or like the, I don't know, minimum structure, like the starting out, the drums or that right. kind of thing. That was kind of he has this like separate folder in his computer of very special things, but he has no idea what to do with it, but he knows it's good.
Right. And
he pulled that out of his folder when he met her. It was just kind of a random collaboration. They hadn't met each other, and
wow.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the reasons, that's one of the things I like about the tune really is the drum group. It's got kind of this tribal-y kind of thing, but not, tribal makes it sound like it's Native American or something like that. And it's not that, it's just got a drum rhythm that's not very contemporary,
yeah, you don't
but
hear
interesting.
It often.
Yeah.
In this, center, exactly.
Yeah, I don't have a lot more to say about it. Like it's one of the ones that I've heard on the radio, and I recognized it instantly when I was listening through her material. And I think it's a good message. It's a good message, and I hope that it inspires people to, kind of get over whatever makes them feel weak.
Yeah, I mean, and it became a movement, as we'll see in another one or two of her other songs, that people just really responded to it. Maybe not initially. I know she thought it was going to be like a big hit instantly, which I know it got a lot of radio play.
Right.
But it was when groups really started taking it on as their anthem that it just exploded, and it became so much bigger than what it was. Just another quick thing about her writing process with this, like Jack Antonoff told her, you have to, because they didn't, as far as the lyrics go, they didn't have something. When she was collaborating with someone, you thought she kind of thought you had to do all of the steps together in some way, but he completely said, you got the, you're a lyrics master, and she just kind of came up with it after meeting with him the first time, and it just flowed out of her. So
Well, a little bit of encouragement can really change some perspectives.
Yeah, giving her the confidence. The other thing, just where this falls in her life, this was always kind of a thing for her, like to say what she wants to say, like from her voice, and being open enough to do that and feel, yes, it's vulnerable, but it's safe to do it and put it out there. But I feel like she had many other songs that kind of led up to that, and I chose another one we'll talk about. But yeah, just this was kind of the culmination for her, and it got it. Oh, and just another really quick fun story about this is the phrasing of it. She wrote it. This is like kind of the top of her belting range, I think, which is like an E flat. And when they did in the studio, it was great. She could do as many takes as she needed, get it done. But then when she went on tour with it and had to do it every day, like Good Morning America, like 6 a.m., it's like, what have I done? I've written a song. I can't sing it just any time. Like, it was just, the irony of that was hilarious, I think, for her. And then so she
just had to power through and nail them.
She got some help, like to vocally to, just get a few pointers at how to always find it or whatever. But yeah, so interesting, right?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And good job challenging herself to get past it. Yeah, it's a good tune. So your number 10 is Bad Idea.
Yes.
So tell me about Bad Idea. So
I know I needed to include one song from The Waitress, her musical that she wrote in, I think it was 2015. I could have chosen so many songs. Like the obvious one is She Used to Be Mine, which is the first song she wrote for that. It's a slow ballad. I also wanted to just have a variety of songs on my list.
Sure.
But Bad Idea, when she came out with the recording, I think before that she did of all the music that she wrote, that wasn't actually the people who were cast in it singing. It was just her. She had Jason Mraz sing on it with her, and there's just something about their voices, the tonal quality chemistry of it, good chemistry, similar range. When they're both singing, you can't tell who's who because they have a similar tone quality, and I just love that. And I think it just demonstrates one of her feature that she uses often in her songs is the whole trading of the melodic line, like who's on top, who's on bottom. You're constantly crisscrossing, and I find it so satisfying as a singer. That's one of my favorite things about singing harmonies.
Well, I think that the fact that she's also a fantastic pianist really supports her creating interesting vocal stuff.
Yes.
Her harmonies, even, in the pop tunes, are pretty rich.
Yeah. And I think that really is supported from a strong instrumental background to have a complete understanding. Yeah, so I remember, like in high school and when I was going through university, that there was sort of this disdain from the musicians, the instrumental musicians, to vocalists if they weren't also instrumentalists. There was like this weird disconnect. Oh yeah, what do you play?
Yeah, exactly.
I sing.
You just sing. And first of all, that's disrespectful. Don't do that. but I do think that piano is specifically the relationship for a vocalist to have the piano background where you're thinking about chords and inversions of chords, and have that background really does help create really far more interesting harmonies than, say, guitar or being a drummer or something else. I just think that piano specifically having depth in that instrument just really opens up a lot of intellectual doors to be a more creative vocalist. And Sara really has that package.
For sure. Yeah, I can see that. And also she didn't start out reading music. I don't know if she even does today.
Oh,
but
really?
Yeah, she did not have that training initially. It was more, I think when she did a junior year abroad in Italy, and I think she met someone in a music school when she was kind of at a low point, and talked about that. Like, she was starting to learn from him.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting and very surprising to hear, because I think that her chord voicings, especially on her tunes, are more advanced than I would give someone who's just an ear by ear learner credit for.
Now they're just so complex and delicious, and the leaps, and yeah. Anyway.
So when I was listening to your list with Bad Idea, I didn't realize it was from a musical when I first listened to it. I'm like, well, this is kind of hokey. This sounds like some musical theater nonsense. And it's because it is. but at the same time, I thought that immediately when I heard it.
Yes.
So for the reason I thought it was a miss, because I thought it was like an album song at first, it immediately changed my opinion when I'm like, oh, it is that, and you know it right away, because musical theater has a kind of a campy, hokey element to it, and sometimes that's hard to capture and it still be playful and fun. And I realized that right away about this tune, thinking it was like an album cut, and when I found out it wasn't, I just was like, oh, that's really impressive that I got that in the first 4 or 5 measures.
Yeah, exactly. Just with that driving rhythm. I mean, that portrays that it's something sinister is going on in the fact that they're about to embark on an illicit love affair as her gynecologist, and she's pregnant with someone else's baby, and it's like that sinewy line underneath where this isn't. It's so exciting,
but that's musical theater drama.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
that drama
is
portrayed.
Yeah. And take the moment to talk about how she engages with so many different kinds of musical endeavors in her career too.
Oh my God!
Because she, musical theater. She's a playwright too, and then does a lot of collaborations and is a pop success.
Yes.
And can sell out the Hollywood Bowl. That's a big venue, guys.
Yeah,
and she does it regularly.
And she's performed many times with orchestras, like at the Kennedy Center with Ben Folds, who's like artistic director there. But she was chosen for Renee Fleming PBS special about just American voices, and she was one of the ones represented where she did the Elton John thing.
Okay, right.
Anyway. Yeah, that's just it. Like, you can't put her in a box because she can just fit in any number of these places.
And has almost no ego about it, apparently. Yeah. You always hear, artists have PR people that like bury the bad things, but her engagement with audiences from the live shows that I've seen between songs make her seem pretty genuine. And I've never read anything negative about her ever in my, because I try to keep track of music celebrity stuff just for gossip, but also just to kind of know what's going on with that community. And I can't think of anything negative I've ever seen anyone say or write about this woman ever.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 9 is Orpheus. I just like the idea of the story. This is love so deep that you're willing to go down the dark tunnel to try to get it back. And I think she did a really good job of making a song that emotionally went through the myth of Orpheus from Greek mythology, which is he was like a bard, like a poet singer, and lost his wife or girlfriend or whatever she was. And I don't remember what the names are now, but and he has to parlay to get a deal to go into the underworld to and I think he sings a song for the gods of the underworld to bring her back and the rule is he can't look at her on the way back to
he can't
back
turn
to
her,
Earth.
Yes, he has to ascend first.
Right, but he can't wait. He loves her so much that he glances anyway and loses her again for the second time. And she wrote a song that's more contemporary, that it mirrors it, but not in such a specific storytelling way. And I think it's a very clever lyric song, but it's also produced and recorded in a way that's kind of melancholy. And I think it's a really interesting tune. And I'd never really heard it before. This isn't one that I've ever heard on the radio. This is one that I really just got in the research and it just jumped out at me. This is, a lot of my tunes on this one are going to be the ones that were on the radio because I recognized them. But Orpheus specifically is one that I'd never heard before, and this song really just spoke to me, and that's why it made my list.
Yeah, it also has it's on her Amidst the Chaos record, and that has the words in that particular song. But so this was a collaboration with producer T-Bone Burnett.
Okay.
Do you know about him at all?
Nope.
Yeah, I hadn't either, but this guy, what hasn't this guy done? He's he played with Bob Dylan in the 70s as
Okay.
a guitarist, but as a producer, he did like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Walk the Line,
Oh,
and
wow.
the movies. Yeah, he got Alison Krauss and Robert Plant together to do Raising Sand, their collaborative album. He's a phenomenal record producer, songwriter, guitarist, and he was always on her bucket list as someone that she wanted to work with. And anyway, speaking to there was a quote that T-Bone said, it's one of the best songs he'd ever heard.
Yeah, I think
So
it's
there's something about it that struck him, and it was also said it's a tune about being fearless and hopeful in a chaotic world. And she did this whole album, I think came out in 2018, just when there's
That sounds about right.
so much going on politically and just so many.
Yeah, the end of it. There was that last election cycle, right?
Yeah. That, and then the whole Women's March and
Right.
all of that was going on, and just she was really affected by that whole political scheme, leaving the Obamas that she just had a love affair with. I just looked up to them so much. But anyway, that's the place where the timing was coming from. But
Yeah, I think it's a good cut, and if you're more of a casual fan like I am, give that one a listen. Even if we don't decide it's on the final list, I really think that's a tune with some really cool musical qualities to it.
yeah, I was listening to it on the way here, and just the guitar lines that lead either, I think they're mostly ascending, that lead in, or both actually, that lead either in or out of the chorus were just, it's so
Yeah,
so touching.
Well, and this kind of, I mean, we'll talk about this certainly more, probably a lot when we talk about the Elton John cover that she does, because that's the one that, I feel that the most in. But she's such an emoting singer.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those tunes where she's singing with a lot of emotions, and I think you can feel what she's feeling as she's singing it, even though it's a studio thing and not a live thing. You don't get to see the body language or anything else. Mm-hmm. And I think that the production's really good.
It's also when I did see this tour, it's the Chaos I mentioned at the Chase Center, and she starts out her concert with a snippet of Orpheus.
Oh, wow.
And also ends it
Okay.
that way.
So
kind of a
like
really
a bookend,
cool
kind of
thing. Yeah.
That's cool.
And just how she chooses to orchestrate it. I mean, she has strings there, the piano, then all the usual players as well. But yeah, it's just so powerful.
Yeah, so your number 9 is Beautiful Girl.
Yes. So she wrote a book in 2015. I have it right here in my hands. Got it from the library. Sounds Like Me, My Life So Far in Song. If you get the audiobook version, she's reading it, which
Very
makes
cool.
it all the more personal, right? So in each chapter is a song that she chooses to write an essay about. I think it was like a series of eight essays that she, it was such a hard project. As for anyone, I'm sure, to write a book is a big undertaking. Like, she procrastinated and wrote Waitress. Well, she couldn't write this book, but she just decided to write a musical instead.
Well, if you got the pen out.
Yeah. So anyway, one of the chapters in here is Beautiful Girl, and I'd heard this. It was on Spotify. It was the like the B sides or covers.
Okay.
There's like a Sara Bareilles list of that, and I think it's in there kind of as more of a B-side, but this was released in 2015. I think it might have been released as a single, but that whole chapter on Beautiful Girl, it's a series of letters, love letters, and letters that she writes to herself. Dear Sara, and she kind of reminisces about all of these periods in her life. Like, the first one was just about her childhood, how she was fat and got made fun of, and just all of these things. She brings up very specific things that just have stayed with her, and I think that was sort of the source of a lot of this anxiety and things that she's still dealing with. But that's the start of it. But then it also goes through, even just when she's a successful career person, she's still having these doubts about herself. And it's just I find this song to be just a constant reminder to, no matter where you are in your life, in these fragile moments, you are still beautiful and a complete person.
Yeah.
And the vulnerability of it, just with her on the ukulele, which I dabble in, as you know, with Katamos, but that's one thing why it drew me to this song. She, in the past she did a cover of Chandelier, Sia's Chandelier, in one of her live shows where it was just her on the ukulele, and it was so powerful. So there's just something about that I just wanted to have one song that also incorporated.
So my number 8 is Little Black Dress. And this is another one that I had never heard before. This is a tune, like I said, I don't know that I've even never listened to an album of hers like cover to cover. I think they're all sort of radio hits or tunes I had to learn for bands. That's how I've engaged with Sara over the years. But this is a cool tune. Like the beat right off the back, it kind of reminds me of like a Pointer Sisters kind of post Motown kind of groove. What a fun song. I just enjoyed the instrumentation and the production of this tune. You have any more to add for this one?
Yeah, this was on the Blessed Unrest, or which?
I'd have to look.
I know.
But I can't while you talk.
But anyway, one thing I will say just about outfits in general, like when she was starting to tour and become more of a under the wing of a record company or whatever, it came up a lot, like what she was wearing, or she would have to choose, and that is like the least. Talk about like low priority on her list, like who cares, Yeah,
the Blessed Unrest is the album this was on.
Yeah, okay. So she talks about stories about this in her book about just having to deal with that. But I think she called it her Little Black Dress tour when she did it.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yeah, so every night she could wear, it kind of made it easy for her, just wear a black dress, and that was her thing. I mean, I know she switched about, but it's just funny, like the irony of that for someone who really doesn't care, but was playful with it, was able to find a way to be playful.
Yeah, I don't find that she's actively grinding against that celebrity stuff. I think she puts on her makeup and does the photo shoots, and she plays the game. But I think she does it. She engages with it in a more appropriate way than a lot of other people do, in a way that I find less distasteful, I guess.
Yes, there is a lot of that out these days.
Yeah, it's so your number 8 is Let the Rain.
Let the Rain, yes. So this was a song that I didn't really know so well until I was starting to listen to stuff on Spotify more. I'm trying to find on my little list, but as I mentioned when we were talking about Brave, that I felt like it was a culmination, like she had other songs that kind of led her to that particular song.
Sure.
This was the one I had in mind. It is from 2010. And so she a couple things, got a big break opening for Maroon 5.
Right.
That was one of her things. And I don't know if it was while she was preparing for that, or if what was going on in her life at the moment when she wrote this song, but it was something like she was just petrified of something. And maybe it was that. Maybe it was just becoming more popular and having to deal with that next level thing. But I just feel like this song speaks to that so beautifully. And I'm also fascinated by like what she chooses to play in her last concert, in her last live tour that she did and actually recorded at the Hollywood Bowl amidst the chaos. And this song was on there.
Okay, yeah.
Which is, it's always interesting to me what people will end up choosing. But meaning that it has just gravitas for her, for something, right? But it's such a fun song to play, just with I've learned all of the musical language around it, but I don't even know like what. Yeah. And I also just listening to versions that she'd done, just playing the guitar And with it, with interacting with audiences,
Yeah.
with it, that was the one that I was struck by first. Like,
Okay.
oh my God, this is so, yes. And another interesting thing is, well, first of all, it was written about rebirth and sort of a baptism by fire. And she, as I said, she was really scared about something, but the message, like, whatever happens, it's going to happen, no matter what, you'll end up okay, sort of happens every time she performs it, if she has an audience, like, trying to keep up.
Yeah.
Clapping with her. That is one thing. But also she wrote this song specifically on guitar. She's
Okay.
also, she plays guitar,
Sure.
piano, all that. So I think the way she approached it was different from like a piano tune.
Okay.
So I don't know
That
if
makes
that
sense.
part of the like driving quality of it or whatever. But yeah, one other quote I just want to say that connects it to Brave is what she said about this song. She says, I like to think that I'm someone that has a capacity to be brave, but honestly, it's something I work really hard at all the time. But yeah, if you listen to the lyrics of this particular song, you'll see where I'm coming from with that. But yeah.
Let's go on though to my number. What are we at? 10, 9, 8, 7. Because I didn't number them beforehand. I Choose You, and this is our first crossover. I just have it a little bit lower on my list, but they're not really. These are not so much in order. I think this is just a wonderful tune about relationships and not settling. The idea of having an intentionality to who you partner with, and it's gets all kinds of play at like weddings and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of people resonate with this, and because it's one of yours, what more would you add to it? I know it would be higher on the list, but we'll talk about it now.
Yeah, this is one that I've sung and performed with Fred. Fred and I kind of started it out as a duo, and I think we might have done it as a band thing. First of all, the arrangement from she did at a live concert in Las Vegas, the Mandalay Bay, I think it's called Mandalay Bay. That particular recording is my absolute favorite. I will say it's just kind of a more pared down. The one that she released on her album is very pop sounding and bright, and didn't really capture all of that. I don't know, quite the right feeling that I was drawn to.
Yeah, it's got a good production quality, but it is kind of poppy.
Yeah.
And might even be distracting from how serious the lyrics actually are.
Yeah, so that's why I chose the Amidst the Chaos version. At least had more of those qualities that she took from that one rendition. But it's an example of just her lines. It's just so fun to sing. Yeah, it goes places where you don't expect it. But this is a song that I mentioned. Some of her songs took on like a movement. So for her video, she had two couples that she was going to be there singing "I Choose You" when they proposed to them, to their person that they were choosing. And so her video, or she made this video of her, the whole, like the lead up to it, talking to the person who got in touch with her and how they orchestrated it all and how they decorated the space and what it meant, and then showed the actual moment and where they were blindfolded, and then they take it off and there's Sal Bareilles singing "I Choose You," and it blows their minds, right? So then it became a thing where at her concerts people would propose.
Right.
So that happens.
So the Hollywood Bowl live one that you sent, she was makes a big deal out of that, and it's super engaging. You just get, especially in this tune, a sense of how friendly she is and how she's got an investment in her fan base and in love in general, really.
Yes, and that was one thing I wanted to make sure I knew. One of my overarching themes for this whole interview is connection, the web of connection that we have with people and with each other, like with our concert last night. Like I was feeling at many points last night, just that it's something you can't explain to people who aren't musicians, I find. Yeah, just even these last few years in particular, I feel like it's playing and singing with the band has just completely shifted how I engage with music. Like coming from the classical or just learning in a certain way. Yes, you have instruments you work with, but I don't know, there's just something about at any particular time I could like listen, I'll tune into different people and hear things that'll completely change how I'm going to sing my next phrase. And it's just constantly shifting. And I mean, potentially all my other experiences should have been that way. But, there's only so many things you can think of at once. But when the more you do it, the more you have that, I don't know, just your knowledge is expanded and you can sort of feel it all simultaneously sometimes.
Well, sometimes this is how conversations and friendships build too.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, I choose you. That's where we were. So your next one is A Safe Place to Land, which is one of, I'd say, many collaborations with John Legend over the years for her, right?
Anyway, A Safe Place to Land. So she ended up asking him, it was an obvious choice when she wrote this song, who would she want to duet with? I mean, I just love the idea of them doing something together. It just makes me so happy. But she wrote this song. It came out of, she had watched this intense footage that she watched together with her co-writer on this song, Laurie McKenna, about the detained immigrant children that had ended up in this country. And just knowing that background, when you start to listen to these words, like the ocean is wild and over our head and the boat beneath us is sinking and hope is all we have. It's just, it's so intense. But there's this one, I know I have the one recording on Spotify, but there's a Vivo video that's a live performance at the Village that they did that just for me is the mind-blowing performance. And one of the things that she does in this one performance that is near and dear to my heart and just makes me get goosebumps anytime I hear her do this, and she does this a lot, is when she'll hold something out, not only just for long over phrases, but in this case she's holding out instead of just doing the harmony on each word. It's like little scared and not finishing the phrase, but while he's doing something underneath. And I'm not really explaining it very well, but it gets me every time.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
Well, like I said, she just evokes emotion in her performance. Yeah. And John Legend's another vocal performer that does the same thing. They're both, and I think that's why they choose each other to work with.
Yes.
They're, I think they could sing a McDonald's jingle and get people to cry. They're both that talented.
Yes.
So one of the other collaborations with Sara and John Legend was, we talked about it, was Jesus Christ Superstar, which was Easter Sunday of 2018, I think is when that aired.
Yeah.
I played this show here in Sonora in, I don't remember what year, probably 97 or 98. There was a small theater company called MAC, Mountain Actors Conservatory. And this was a time when it seems like, I don't remember all the details, but Dave Purdy, who was the drama teacher at Columbia College for years and years, he had CAR, which is Columbia Actors Repertory, and they used to operate the Fallon House. And then something happened, and I'm sure it was a big political, who knows, but I think SRT, which had the East Sonora Theater, took over the Fallon House about this time. And so he started his own sub-theater company that was MAC, and this was one of the shows that we put on at Mountain Actors Conservatory. And, I was probably, 18 or 19 when I did this. And it was just,
in the band?
In the band. I played in the pit.
Yeah.
So it was a bunch of our local artist heroes. God, who all? Stan Emmons played guitar, Mark Seaver on keyboards, Dave Sahadi played bass, and I played drums. And originally, Travis Jones was supposed to play guitar, and Stan came in at the last minute to save the day because Travis ended up being Jesus. With our Jesus actor had some issue. I don't recall what happened there, but he stepped aside, and Travis stepped in from playing guitar to actually be Jesus.
Interesting crossover. Yeah.
And it was a great show. One of my good friends, Dennis Brown, was Judas. It was a real fun time. Tim McCaffrey was in that show with me from Neighborhood Sound. That's how I first met Tim. So a lot of networking from way back in the day for me. But anyway, the song I picked is Everything's All Right, which is from Jesus Christ Superstar. And it's the first, I think it's the first solo that Mary Magdalene gets in the show. Okay. And it's like a displaced waltz. It's a waltz that's in 5. Kind of in 5, and it's just a beautiful piece. It's one of my favorite songs of all time.
Oh wow.
And the way she engages, her vocals are just emotionally put it through the top. And then I also want to talk a bit about the idea of Jesus is kind of scolding her for letting him relax, using the good ointments and using the bandages. And part of it's because he knows his own fate. He understands what's going to happen. And he's like, no, we should have given this to the poor. Because I already know. And I thought about how the closer we get to omniscience, the more you actually know and know for sure that it's truth, the more anxiety and pressure you have. So that it's like the ignorance is bliss, and kind of think that is a negative thing. But the more you know, how do you not get more anxious about everything?
Right.
So you got to find this middle ground, I guess, in life of how much you want to know versus what can you take. Because Mary's perspective in this song is you need accept the love, accept the care from us around you, your followers. We believe in you, and we need you to rest. Just don't worry about the rest of the world. It'll spin on tonight if you take a night and just heal and just relax and be. And Jesus is angry, not angry, but defiant for receiving this love from everybody, because he knows the future. He knows what's going to happen. He knows he's going to be betrayed.
Fate.
He knows,
Yeah.
And he's all just being completely selfless and thinking about everyone else and how they could use these materials, and it was wasted on me. But from their perspective, that's not even true, because they don't know that future. And I just think that's a really interesting bit of the story. So yeah, that's why I picked it.
Yes. No, I love it. I love how you have like the personal connections with that. Just make it all the more.
And then your number
enriched.
6 is I Choose You Again. This is where our crossover would have lied. We've pretty much talked about it. Do you have any more to add for?
No, I'm good.
All right. And then my number 5 is our other crossover. And I just have it first, so we'll just engage with it now, is Yellow Brick Road. She did a cover for, what was the event?
Well, she just started covering it in her concerts.
Oh, she does it all the time.
Originally, yeah.
Okay.
Like during this moment during these years of her life in her touring. Like back in the early days, she didn't have enough of her own material to fill out like a set or whatever.
Show, sure.
So she would do covers, which she's amazing at, I will say.
Yeah.
Because she really takes it to another level, as we both agree on this one. But yeah, it was for, she was invited to collaborate on this show that Renee Fleming, who is a successful American opera singer, celebrating the incredible range of vocal artistry in America. And it was called American Voices with Renee Fleming. That was in 2015, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a song that, it's hard to imagine everyone hasn't heard, as a song. And I think that Elton John's vocal style he doesn't enunciate very clearly. And so one of the aspects of this that I really like is that I can really hear the words.
You know what he's talking about.
Right. I'm hearing
for the first time.
Yeah, without having read the liner notes before. Yeah. And that's just Elton John's style. I'm not trying to
a lot of people have that style.
Yeah.
Yes.
But now I'm finally hearing Yellow Brick Road with a deeper connection to what's being said in the story through her performance. And then I don't know if she's playing it like in a modal thing, because it sounds like she's like got more flat notes.
Open fifth chords.
Is that what's going on?
And that's she starts out with.
Okay. Because the melody just seems like it's a little bit more melancholy. Like there's a difference. Like it's either a mode or she's playing it just in a minor key or something.
There are some differences from the original Elton John. I was listening to his yesterday because I hadn't heard it in years. I mean, I
Right,
knew,
his seems more bright.
knew the song, yes.
I don't know if it's just a key change or what, 'cause
Yes.
I didn't analyze it that deep.
No, you're right.
But it really is supported, like that change in what she's doing harmonically with the piano to the change in the melody is just so. It just gives you the feels. Like it's like she's singing it like I've heard that song for the first time, although I'm intimately familiar with this song.
Yeah.
It's just, how powerful a different artist's take on a piece of material can be. And I don't want to say I cried because that wouldn't be accurate, but I certainly got feelings, like deep feelings from hearing her perform this song. And I think there's a lot of value to that.
And I don't think you're the only one. I know, like, reading people's comments, it's like I go to listen to this and I'm just like five rendition, like 5 replays later, like you can't stop listening to it. And it's just been stuck in my head. That's another thing, just what songs resonate with you so much so that like they're just constantly there. That happens to me a lot, but this was certainly one of those. I also want to mention, just as part of this like work that she did with the Kennedy Center, with Ben Folds, who was that artistic director there, they also put on this like pop masterclass that was sort of part of this whole like workshop series that they were doing with a bunch of different singers. Like they had Alison Krauss on there doing hairstyle, and just a bunch of people that they featured. And Sara was on there, like, and her and Ben Folds. Had you heard of him before?
No.
Like, I hadn't either. I had to look him up, but like people describe him as being one of the most iconic like music influencers of today's generation. It's like, what? So
seems like I should have heard of him. But
I know.
Anyway,
he produced one of her later albums. But anyway, just this how they worked with people just about doing a cover song. Like how do you like inject your personality and making it yours and telling the story through your lens as opposed to just playing it. Like there was a guy playing Billy Joel's song, and one of the things, he was playing the piano as well, and the first thing they told him was like, okay, drop the piano and just sing it just with the vocal. Like just how much that identity of the Billy Joel sound you get just because you're playing the piano line to it. It was remarkable. Like, and how just doing that, taking away that one element changed it so much. But yeah, just again, finding your authentic voice and at that moment.
Well, what's your process? Like as a vocalist who does a lot of different things, especially in different languages, when you're actually in the moment performing on stage, when I sing, even to myself, I don't sing out on stage hardly ever, but my process always is I'm thinking of the story. I'm thinking about, as I'm saying the words, what this means to me, so that I have some emotion. So if I break or I make an error, it still feels genuine because I'm trying to convey a thought through other people's words. I'm not just memorizing the word and thinking about, it's a fifth up. I'm not thinking mechanically at all. And I know that, but when I play drums, I am thinking more mechanically. But when I'm singing, I try to get rid of all of that, and I just try to be emotional and vulnerable. And I think that just works so much better. What do you feel that in your performance?
Telling the story, yeah. Yes. It depends on the song. Like I'm just thinking of something off the top of my head last night, like Mas que nada, Portuguese. I don't speak the language, but there's certain words that I certainly connect with, and I will like touch like my heart or something if I'm saying something about mi corazón or whatever. Like those kind of elements I will directly relate, but also there's like this, I'm also doing a lot of like playfulness stuff with how I'm playing with the words against the rhythms, or I'm watching the like little 5-year-old dancers in front of me. I mean, there's so many elements, right? Like in any given moment, or the Beacon's during octaves, he's on the flute at one point, and we're like having that moment, like just having, there's just so much to think about. And then all the while, like I might think about, like some sort of physical element of my body. Like, that's funny, my toes are lifted right now. What would happen if they're more grounded? Yeah. Like even little things like that. I was talking to Tanya Peterson, our fellow member, bandmate, who we've I've sung a long time with. Like we always would bring her in as a guest singer for since the beginning for many years. Anyway, just talking with her today about how she was saying, you know, she just really tense before the show, just with her shoulders. And yeah, like if you're not, if you got something going on physically, you had your calf.
Yeah.
You pulled your muscle last night during the show.
I did.
How that affected what came next for you or in the moment. Yeah, all of these things, like everything will affect how you're doing it. But yes, connecting with the story, even if it's not the literal story of the words, sometimes it might just be like when I was doing this research for Many of the Miles, we'll get there, but like what that song was about for her, and just I brought that up, and even just speaking those words, like I sang in a totally different way, telling you guys I love you as bandmates. Like I'd never done that before. And then Tanya, actually, she listened to the whole show last night after the show, and that was one of her comments was, it was so different, and just something about it. Like a lot of these things you can't verbalize as far as, the process, but the process is it's an organic living thing, obviously.
Well, that's one of the cool things about a performing art in general, you know, it's very different. You know, dance and musical performance are very different from, you know, art and painting and sculpture. You know, there's a finality to those things. Mm-hmm. And there's a finality, a static finality to a composition. You know, like if you write a song and you have the chart, that's a static thing. Mm-hmm. But then how the players interpret that chart gives it a thumbprint. It's absolutely unique every time you see it. Yeah. It just is. Yeah. Even for the bands that are using MIDI tracks and there's a click track in their ears the audience doesn't hear, and they're absolutely trying to make it exactly 2 minutes and 37 seconds long because that's how it is on the radio. Even with that much stuff on the rails, there's a uniqueness to it.
Still going to be a dynamic.
There's still a uniqueness to it.
Yeah, because it's in that moment you're never going to get it back. Exactly what happens there. Yeah, yeah. And I I love that. I love that element for sure. But
so kind of talking about last night, we performed up in Dorrington, California.
The Loop Room.
And one of the songs we played was the next song on your list, which is King of the Lost Boys.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, yes. So this is one of two songs that I chose of hers that she wrote for a project. It was called Little Voice. It was a TV show on Apple TV. And it was like in 2020 that it was released, so during COVID. And it was, she worked on this show with a collaborator that she did Waitress with. I forget her name. It's here somewhere. Anyway, and Little Voice was the name of her first album.
Right.
And the people who produced it, the record people, whatever, higher ups, she had a song called Little Voice, but it didn't make the cut because they didn't think it really fit with the rest of the album, which gutted her, right?
Sure.
So she had this song that was near and dear to her. And all of these years later, when it came up, they were trying to come up with a title for this show, and it was Little Voice. And she's like, wait a second, I have a song. So that became the theme song for this. But it's about like following a singer-songwriter living in New York and how they make their way in the world and deal with all the chaos of life and how they juggle it and trying to like hold so many jobs, like as a waitress, a bartender, like singing at a retirement home, and then going to walking dogs, and all in that time she's trying to write music.
Every downtime is trying to be creative and have some sort of passive income,
which is
or
like
active
your
income.
love, right? Is that, and how much time can you devote to that? But anyway, all in the backdrop of New York City, and there's so much to say about this show alone that it took them over a year to find the main singer to play like Sarah's kind. It's loosely based on her life, but then it took another direction.
Right.
But certainly like the first episode where they show her going to a storage space like that you rent at whatever U-Haul or something, not U-Haul, but whoever has
self-store or whatever.
Yeah, she had one of those in LA where she would
rehearse.
Yeah. And go and write and stuff.
Because it was probably cheaper than the studios were.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that element made it into the show, which is cool. Anyway, but another person in that show, Colton Ryan, who is I am in love with this guy. We happen to share the same birthday, June 10th. Many years younger than me, but he is a phenomenal singer, and he plays he's a guitarist as well, and he is her biggest supporter. They meet in this situation, then they begin collaborating together. But so King of the Lost, so in each episode of the show, I don't know how many episodes there were, 10, 14 or something, is around a song. She would either write the episode around the song and kind of incorporate it as the whole storyline, or in this case with King of the Lost Boys, it was just sort of a song that what's the word I'm looking for? It just kind of embodied what was going on in the episode. It wasn't like
just
directly.
a kind of theme.
Yeah.
Theme sharing.
Yeah. And so the character in the show has an autistic brother who's a very much a musical theater guy. And so younger brother almost sort of has this almost Peter Pan-esque, I mean, the sister quality initially, like your King of the Lost Boys. It's hard to explain, but one of the reasons why I put it in here was for Fred Treese. It's one of his favorite songs how much layering you can do on this song. It is so cool. It's like just this basic drone almost quality. Like Tanya's harmony is just like mostly one note, and I do stuff around it, which is such a cool
It's another one that has like a
aspect.
tribal kind of element to it, in that there's some droning and some chanting, and the drums are very repetitive, so there's a component to that.
Yes.
There's some syncopation because Ron does the low part, so there's more sonic range for the vocals on this one. And it's kind of a unique tune for her catalog of music.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of, I can't think of another tune that's really...
It's like atmospheric.
Yeah, this is like...
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is unique to her soundscape. But I just wanted to tell that story about the show, because it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. It was only one season on Apple TV, but I think it's still on there.
Yeah, I think it is. I think I've seen it there recently. I haven't watched it myself, but I do think it's still on the platform. Yeah. So that puts us at my number 4, which is Many the Miles, which is another song we played last night. Mm-hmm. I think this one's about her kind of talking about the distance between her tour dates and to fans. Does that line up with the story you knew?
Yeah, that's the story I read about, and hers sounds like me.
Yeah.
Book. Yes.
It's a good groove. It's just like, it's a catchy groove, and lyrics are kind of fun and playful, and another one that's like not about anxiety or about something deeper meaning. It's really a love letter kind of to her fans, which I think is really sweet.
Exactly. And yeah, again, it's the connecting with people, and how she tells stories of how she's connected with fans in the past, like for her Kaleidoscope Heart tour, someone handed her or she got this package that was a handmade wooden Kaleidoscope Heart.
Wow.
And just things that, people go above and beyond. And tell you just how much you've mean to them in their lives in various ways. And she hears that, and it affects you. But it's also that the camaraderie of her band and the crew and the traveling and
Sure.
the Little Black Dress tour or whatever. They were, the last summer they were doing it, their bus would break down. I don't know. It's the story is hilarious. I mean, looking back, but just these impossible situations where they're like literally in the middle of the desert or Central Valley or somewhere, and just the bus is dead, and so that means no air conditioning. They're out there, and I think they ended up chartering a plane or something crazy, which they normally wouldn't do something like that. But just those kinds of stories. But also, it's kind of bluesy to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I love that sound for her. I think she does it really well.
It's kind of got like a bounce to it too, without being swung. It's got kind of like a bounce to it. It's not so straight sounding. It's got a fun bounce to it, which is almost like an early hip hop groove, really. It's not that genre at all, but it's got that early hip hop kind of bounce to it, which is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. I also say that the element of having all the music drop out and then doing a chorus a cappella.
Yeah.
With the harmonies.
Yeah, that's a powerful thing, especially live.
Yes. Yeah. It's a favorite element for me, for sure.
Yeah. So your number 4 is Simple and True.
Right. So this comes back to that Little Voice show. I can't remember which episode. It was kind of towards the end-ish. Where it was the one point in the whole series where I cried. Like this moment is just so poignant in the show. And where they do it, I was trying to look it up. I can't remember the name of the venue where they used in New York. It's this tiny little, like the size of this room almost. It's narrow, and there's a tiny stage.
Yeah, seating for 8.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's very intimate. And then it's just the two singers, and Colton, Ryan's voice on this, just, I can't even. You just have to listen to it. So I put her version on there. So Sara does a version. She released all the songs on the album that she made for the actors or whatever, that were her songs that she wrote. So her version, so for example, so the whole, it's kind of a simple love song, but there's this vulnerability about it. So it's, the verses are one thing, and then it goes, the second part, do you remember it at all? The second part goes into this, it's just solo guitar, but it goes into this driving guitar, where she then opens up into belting it. And in her version, Sara's version, she I don't even know how many measures it is. She connects,
it just holds,
she connects it like 16 bars or something. And in the when the cast also releases an album of these songs. And when they do it, they break it down into 4 bar segments. And I mean, he probably could do it, but yeah, her version is amazing for that. But their version, his voice, I just can't go beyond because it's so rich and phenomenal. But also in this song, it has those just cascading lines that also overlap, and you lose track of who's on top, and that just slays me every time. I think it was also her favorite song that she wrote for this TV series, or at least that's where I read it somewhere. But and Luke Kirby, an actor, he was in Marvelous Miss Maisel. Did you ever watch that show?
No.
Yeah. Another great series, but he played Lenny Bruce as comedian. But I just love him as an actor, and he plays this record producer that tries to hit on her.
Okay.
Right, come on, there's another story that tale as old as time, right?
Yeah.
So he was in the audience listening to it, and so you have that, and then the Colton's character is kind of falling in love with her, but she's singing about the love for someone else, so it's this kind of weird triangle thing that's happening. But so I don't know if it's all that emotion, what it is, combination of the elements of the song. It is striking. Both versions I recommend listening to.
Yeah, I hadn't heard this one and just listened to it from your list and didn't have any specific notes to it, maybe because I didn't have all the backstory.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a very good vocal performance from her. But that was kind of like the highlight for me. I didn't know the show. I don't have these other connections, but it sounds like with the rest of the background, it's a much more powerful piece, understanding the integration,
all that dynamics. Yeah, for sure. And there you go, like the whole importance of storytelling, right, to really hit you emotionally. And
my number 3 is King of Anything, and this was the first song that I remember really liking of hers when she was getting radio play in the early 2000s, and I just thought, this is kind of cool. I remember the music video where it's like a coin-operated machine kind of thing. Have you ever seen the music video for this?
I don't know if I have.
It's kind of a clever music video.
Yeah.
This is when they, toward the tail end of when videos were still made. I remember the music video for this also being kind of fun and clever.
Yeah.
So that it has a personal connection to me, but I also think it's one of her hits, and is a good contender to maybe make this essential list. So those are my reasons. Do you have anything else to add?
I mean, just that it's like, it just perfectly captures her kind of sense of humor and her, not snarkiness, but like...
Independence.
Like, who died and made you king of anything? It's like, it's just such a great line to hear, and all the rest of it. Who cares if we disagree? Who died? It made you king of anything. Yeah. It's... Yeah, for that alone, just captures it. But
yeah,
and
right.
the part. I mean, she can really play around with the audience.
Yeah, that's true too.
Singing with her and getting involved, which is always fun to do. There's some element that they can participate in, right?
Well, I think that's her musical theater background chops too. Is that she writes playfully. Mm-hmm. You know, gives herself some room to have some good interaction. A good musical theater performer, you know, has some ad-lib chops and some ability to, you know, things get a little bit sideways, or you got a house that's just willing to engage back instead of being, you know,
right.
I've done enough musical theater in my life.
Trying not to unwrap their cough.
Right. Yeah, they're all just sitting there with their hands folded and just being good little audience members.
Yeah.
And then there's the shows where they're up and dancing in the aisles.
Yes.
And I love those houses.
I know.
I love it when the audience is a little bit rowdy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very disruptive, but just have the mentality of I'd rather work around some of that. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, one heckler sucks. If there's one, like, just heckler, that's not good.
Right.
But if everyone's there having a good time and it's a little bit rowdy or a little bit disruptive, that's just fun.
For sure. I like that too.
So your number 3 is Yellow Brick Road. You have it much higher on your list. And I think we talked about this as much as we maybe need to.
And as I said, I don't know if I really had any thought behind my order, because they're just all so good.
I just want to reiterate, this is just it's a powerful recording. This is a powerful performance. And that's the biggest thing for me, is just the power of it. My number 2 is another very powerful performance, which is Gravity.
Yes.
I think it's a little bit unfortunate that she titled it Gravity, because I think when you hear the title, most people think of the John Mayer song, which is not. Oh yeah, it's not the same song.
I didn't know before I knew her, right? But I know what you mean.
Right, and they came out. I don't know how close to this years, but certainly in the 2000s. Oh. So there's just 2 popular songs that are both called Gravity that aren't the same tunes. It's not like they covered each other. And so when I hear, somebody tells me, okay, we're going to play Gravity, I'm just assuming it's the John Mayer version.
The John Mayer, yeah.
But this is her version, or not version, her song. This is absolutely beautiful. This is an absolutely haunting. Another one, powerful lyrics, gives you intense feelings of just being drawn to someone who may not be good for you, but you're just drawn, and maybe it's you're a little bit powerless against that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. So she wrote this when she was 19.
Oh, this is a way early song.
Yes.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Hard to believe a 19-year-old could be mature enough to write these words.
I know. So this was also a chapter in her book. So she tells the whole story about it. It was her first, I think, her first love, where it was reciprocated. The guy was like some image that would be your dream, and he happened to feel the same way about her at that moment. And they spent 2 years in high school, their final 2 years, and then she's going off to college to UCLA, and they were thinking about breaking up. But anyway, the whole story, it turned it into any time they got together after they were already officially broken up, they would still kind of fall into the same patterns with each other, because they just couldn't help it. You say, it's like some people, you just have this where you're drawn to them. I mean, I love how she names it Gravity for that, because it's... Sure.
I think it's an appropriate title.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I gotcha. But she also says it's one of her most requested songs, and she's still really proud of it as a song, even though she wrote it so young.
Well, if I wrote that at 19, I'd be proud of it too. That's... Yeah. Really mature songwriting.
Yeah. And so when we got our first keyboardist in Contamos, or when we were still the tour guides, it was Jerry Solberg.
Right.
It was amazing. That was one of the first two Sara Bareilles songs we covered were Bottle It Up, and then Gravity was just a solo piano vocal thing that I did. And I still vividly remember the performance we did at Ironstone, opening up for someone during a 4th of July concert.
Nice.
And yeah, just that moment in particular I remember. But it's such a fun song to sing, and just the way the juxtaposition of her words with like her vocal line. Like, one thing that I still know is that you're keeping me down. The climax of the song where she actually is rising, and then that's her high note, keeping me down, and then she holds it forever and then ends up coming down. But yeah, just things like that are just...
This is another tune that I've talked about it before on the show, but one of the elements of music that I find most important is space. And this is one of those tunes that you can really listen to and appreciate the space. Even on the studio version, I think there's strings that come in at some point to round it out, but it's a long wait. It's like the back third of the tune. Okay. They wait quite a while before it gets to be more than just piano vocal, and it's not like there's just a lot of space in the front end. The chord gets laid out so the audience or the listener can understand and have an anticipation of what note she's going to sing, but it's not immediate. They don't necessarily complement each other. It's like, here's a chord, here's where we're going, and then I'm going to let that sit and ring out for. Then she's going to sing her line without any piano, and then she resolves her line, then the piano outlines the next chord, and it's this almost like conversation between what she's saying lyrically and what the piano's outlining, and it's really wonderfully done. And again, I think this comes back to her musical theater background chops, where that's a really good trick. It's nice to have lots of space sometimes. It sets a mood that doesn't work in a lot of bands, because a lot of bands, there's this ego thing that happens and nobody wants to be sitting on stage not playing.
Yeah. It's a concept we bring up a lot.
Sure. Like
more space.
Yeah.
This song needs more space.
And this is a great example of a song that utilizes the musical element of space at a masterful level.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of why I picked it. I think this is a really well composed tune.
One other thing, this was the first song that she wrote where it was like actually a catharsis for her, because she was so devastated by this relationship. It was just tearing her apart. Writing it made her feel better.
Sure.
Which is a very common thing, I think, for singer-songwriters to draw from their own life.
Yeah.
And, write what they know and what they're experiencing, of course. But in particular, this was such a powerful release for her. And I think that is why it's going to remain so high up there.
So your number 2 is Satellite Call.
Yes, it is. So this is a song that I would turn on and I would start singing along, and then I would just break down in sobbing. And I don't know, not when I first heard it, because I think I was actually at the tour where she talks about it, her final tour of that Little Black Dress tour at Berkeley at the Greek Theater, where it was the first time that she had that experience with like 6,000 people or whatever, and she started playing that one, and people turned on their lights on their phones and had that whole effect. And we talked about space, gravity, like literally satellite. It just, you immediately go there just with the literal words, but having that image, so that this song has a special place in her heart for that. But it also, the reason why she wrote it, she had a fan, I think her name was Jessica Vicker, write her a letter where she said, "You saved my life." I heard, it wasn't this, she hadn't written this song yet, but it was Hold My Heart from one of her other earlier records. And she was about to end her life, and she heard this song in the middle of the night and didn't.
Yeah.
And so she wrote her letter about it, and she got this letter, and it affected. So she wrote this song to connect to people who feel lost, that there's nobody out there in this great, big, beautiful world. And this is written for the one to blame who think they're the cause of chaos and everything. I'm just going through her lyrics in my mind, but it's like, it's so powerful. And then her I don't know if it's part of the chorus or what do you call it, though, where she does her ascending line going up.
Yeah, I guess that would be the chorus, yeah.
It's like nothing you've heard. And it also sounds very space-like.
Yeah,
things that you would hear in space, like otherworldly sounds.
Yeah,
right?
This is another one kind of like King of the Lost Boys. It's kind of unique sounding for her.
Yes,
it's
an
not
atmospheric scape thing.
Creative thing. When I first heard this one, I thought of Message in a Bottle from the Police. I'm trapped on a desert island. It's like had some of those similar motifs, but a very different approach for how the engagement. Similar kind of theme of feeling isolated and throwing one out into the ocean and hoping somebody gets it. I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling this way, and the only thing I can think to do is just throw a note in the bottle and hope.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same idea, but then what a different performance. The lyrics are much more in depth, and the music is much more esoteric and spacey, and
the tempo very slow.
Yeah.
It was described as like a love story for the lonely, but it's just so powerful for anyone who suffers from any form of depression, on that spectrum of depression. It can be such a lifeline. My
number one is Love Song, which is probably her biggest hit. It was the breakout hit for sure.
Yes.
So in a lot of ways, a breakout hit sort of is always remembered as like the first hit, maybe the biggest hit. And it is a good tune. I mean, it really is. She deserved to get on the radar for this. Absolutely. The piano playing on this, I think, really is what was kind of cool sounding. She wasn't Billy Joel and she wasn't Elton John, but she was clearly a singer piano player, kind of filling the same boots that those guys have filled in the past by having a piano forward tune, but playing in her own style. And then lyrically, it follows. She's written a lot of other things, probably more poignant than this later on. But for a first one, I think this is a very good tune.
Yeah.
What do you think about this one?
Yeah. Chapter in the book.
Okay.
So I have the whole story. But one thing, she wrote it in 30 minutes, which, going back, this was... She got picked up, she got noticed, she needed to come up with an album. And they wanted her to collaborate. They didn't think that she could do it by herself.
Okay.
Which is something, talk about shattering your world, right? So how do you do that? How do you share
We'll give you the
things?
shot, but we don't have any faith in you.
Yeah, and share things that are like the most vulnerable thing and share them with someone else who's going to do something with it. So she had all of these... appointments or whatever, sessions with like songwriters and who just, I don't know how many she went through, so many who were just like their own thing and projecting stuff on her and not even listening to what she was about. Or it was just such a cringe experience for all of that in that sense. And then ROSSE, yes, a producer that actually produced Tori Amos's a couple of her records, which was
another
a
piano
big,
vocalist.
Yes, and a big influence in early Sara.
Her and I are birthday buddies.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
we're both August 22nd.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
Coming up. Yeah, I loved her. I loved her early stuff. I remember when she came out for sure, her music. Anyway, he was the first person that she actually... It had happened with him. They had spent a session together and he was looking at her and hearing her stories and ideas and then kind of sent her off. And she went to her little storage space, makeshift studio space. And that's where she wrote it on this little piano. And
sometimes the best ones just come to you.
I think she asked for help from whoever out there. And then she just started playing this, like the opening riff, and it's like she has no idea where it came from, and so that was just a cool story.
All right, so the last song we're going to talk about is your number one, maybe in no particular order, but the last song we're going to talk about is
Dun,
Armor.
dun, dun. Armor, the feminist anthem. Yeah, so this was on her latest album, Amidst the Chaos, which was from 2018, a while ago, but this was another from that T-Bone Burnett album. Why do I love this song? I think it's badass. I think I could say that.
Yep.
Just the message behind it. This was, I think, as I mentioned earlier, just the chaos of the times that was going on. She participated in that Women's March in Washington. I don't know when it happened, but the International Women's Day, whatever, was organized. But I mean, I think it was the first time she'd done something like that, and just feeling like all the power of the women and the strength in it, and everyone sharing their stories and being worthy of it. Like this song was written out of that context, and when you listen to the words, it just it's so good. It just hits it on the mark. And it's that low. She does a lot of this like low left hand piano work that I find extremely powerful.
I think this is another one that, if I remember the tune correctly, this is one that really demonstrates her range too.
Yes.
This is kind of a, I can't remember what the section is. I just remember listening to it and going, wow, her range is really good. But I can't think, I don't have it in my ears right now what I'm thinking about musically. But anyway.
Yeah.
She does have just an incredible range, right?
Oh, she does. And as I mentioned before, just how the ease with which she moves in between all of the different registers, like the musical theater belting. When you belt in the correct way, you can, and this is why she's able to do it, hold these 16-bar phrases in one breath, because you don't need that much breath if you're in that pocket of the positioning for
right.
belting, and it can go on for forever, and it's so powerful. But then to come out of that into like a falsetto high note, and then go dig deep down, like she does it all in like a lot of her songs, like in the same song. Yeah. Which, as a vocalist, it's so impressive.
Yeah, and I think that she's a little bit weird, because I think in her career, the things she's got to do and the things that the opportunities that have been presented and the awards she's got and the company she keeps, I think she gets the respect in the community for being as excellent of a vocalist as she is. But I think in pop culture, she's often left out of that conversation. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with like not winning any awards, how many times she's nominated for Grammys and right, and it's a little bit, is it the look? Is it things that are not really her fault? Because you can't box it. Yeah, I don't know, but you look at who her contemporaries are and the things that she's done and the musical theater stuff and the quality of her vocal performance and the range and her musical skills and all these other things. All the elements are there, but at the same time, it's like she kind of has been snubbed. Yeah. And I don't really know why. Yeah, she's also addressed that, because I think a lot of people talk about that, but it's like, you know what? She says anyway that that's not why she's doing it, which is awesome. If that's indeed the case. Well, I think that, she's given kind of her who made you the king of anything anyway, kind of like, if that's the character that she is in real life, I'm sure there's a little fire in her that's like, ignore this. Yeah. I'm just going to keep ramping this up. And I think she has. I think she's very successfully kind of upped the ante year after year after year with the quality of music she's putting out. Oh, yeah. And she was recognized. I just saw this. I didn't realize in 2020, I think she won a Grammy for her song Saint Honesty, which is on this Amidst the Chaos album. Okay. That was done in one take. Wow. Yeah. That in and of itself is amazing. I mean, that was on my list. Another great one. But, and I love how now in like what she had that initial love of musical theater, and now she did Waitress, and now she's doing other Broadway things. Like she did this whole Into the Woods production, and she's doing this TV show with Renee Elise Goldsberry, who played
Angelica in
Right.
Hamilton. And
Well,
like,
that's kind of what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that like all these
Yeah.
opportunities, like clearly within the industry, people recognize the quality that she's able to put out there.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get off air. We're going to talk about these, I guess, 18 songs. So we had 2 crossovers, and we're going to decide an order and which 10, only 10, make an essential Sara Bareilles playlist. All right, everybody, we're back. And after some negotiation, some hefty negotiation
very,
this time.
very hard.
It just, well, just preening it down to 10 from 20 and then finding an order. These are all, it's all such good material.
As you say, we could flip a coin and roll the dice and do any number of orders for this, but
this is where we arrived at. We put number 1 as king of anything. We wanted something that really, to a first-time listener, would catch them and kind of showcase Sara's playful side.
Yes.
And this is, the rest of this list that we came down to is kind of a more serious Sara. And so that's why we wanted to put this one kind of at the front. Number 2 is Gravity, much more serious song.
but familiar.
But familiar,
to
yeah.
some people,
It certainly had some play. And I just can't believe the maturity of this song from a 19-year-old. That's kind of wild to me.
Still sticking with you, right?
Yeah. Number 3 is Armor, kind of a feminist movement anthem, and really just a good, powerful song.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, Satellite Call, kind of, letting you know that there's people out there. There's hope. Reach
you are
out.
not alone.
Yeah.
Exactly. You aren't untethered in the universe. You are grounded.
Yeah. And life can be lonely sometimes, for sure. Mm-hmm. Number 5, King of the Lost Boys. Number 6, I Choose You, but very specifically the version live from the Hollywood Bowl. There's some fun audience interaction that's on that particular recording of it. And I think that the studio version's a little poppy.
Yes.
I think that the
we
live
talked about
version is
that.
just a more mature sounding version of that song. I think that the lyrics are a little bit deeper than the studio version production.
Yes, and I love the use of her strings that she does on that one in particular.
Number 7, we put Brave, another anthem for a different part of our community that needs to be seen and heard and have some representation.
Yeah, but and anyone and everyone as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Just
like we can't
having the
ignore who our
courage.
neighbors and our coworkers and our family members are because of anything. Like this is it's real. 8, the cover, Yellow Brick Road. I dare to say it's a performance I enjoy more than Elton's original performance.
Yeah, he was blown away by it and has never heard anyone cover any song in a way that she does that one in particular. So yeah.
Just
I think
thinking about
alone
that tune is like, that's a powerful rendition of
stays in
somebody
the
else's
head.
material.
Yeah, and I know she has a lot of cover songs that we could have thrown in there, but just this one represents.
I didn't cheat. Like when we made our list, I don't think we looked at each other's list. We both really put this on our list completely
Correct.
independent.
Yes.
This is,
For sure.
And for both of us to pick a cover tune, the same cover tune for an artist, I think is saying what an incredible performance this version is.
Yeah. The only thing I cheated with was I would have put Gravity or Brave on my list, but
You knew I had them
you
covered.
had them covered. I'm like, oh, there's so many other ones I had. So
Sure.
yes.
And then number 9, we put Simple and True. And at 10, we put Orpheus.
Yeah.
And that's what we think is our essential Sara Bareilles
Essential
playlist.
Sara, but with an asterisk. I have to say, dear Sara, don't hate me for not choosing a Waitress song. I even flew to New York with my friend Tammy Shaner to see you sing that, and we love it. And anyway, there's not room for everything.
Yeah,
there's so many of your songs that I would put on here.
But that's the thing is that when she's got a catalog of this much good material, we don't want to delineate everything out for our listener. I think picking 10 is enough to get their foot in the door. Hopefully we pick 10 that get people to go, wow, I want more of this.
Yes.
And there's a lot more there.
Yeah. For sure. And I knowing it's such a big part of her life, but yeah, you can discover that especially if you're into musical theater, and it'll enrich your life.
Yeah.
If you do discover it.
So you and I have a couple more shows coming up here before the end of summer. We're going to be playing at Hermit Fest on September
7th coming
September
up.
7th. And I'll also be playing with Grover. So if anyone wants to come up, that's a music festival in Bear Valley, California. I think it's kind of an all-day event. I'm sure gates open not till like 10 or something. But I think music basically from noon all the way till dark.
Music and vendors.
Yeah, vendors.
Good stuff to eat and
Yeah,
purchase.
if you're in Calaveras County especially, come on up. This is good music. It's a fun
camp.
event. Oh yeah, and there's camping,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a real fun event. I've been at every Hermit Fest for a lot of years now.
Many years.
So yeah, that's the first event. And then our show at Bryce Station Vineyards is the following weekend,
September
Saturday.
14th.
Right? And that's basically right across the street from Forest Meadows if you're heading up Highway 4. A
Murphy's, yep.
little bit down, but basically at Forest Meadows. Look for it on the left side of the road there.
Another gorgeous outdoor venue.
Yeah.
And food and drink. Lots of wine, good wine as well. But
Yep.
beautiful stage.
So that's Michela and I and our bandmate Fred Treese, who was on an episode earlier in the series here. So those are the shows we have coming up. So thanks, Michela, for coming in and talking about your favorite artist.
Such a pleasure, Josh. I was a little nervous, but you made it so easy, and it's really fun talking to you like this.
Yeah, good. I really enjoy it, and I hope that the listeners out there are enjoying it too. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I still think about you when I hear Willie Nelson sing of embers in the rain, and I was wrong. What good are convictions when you're grasping at the fire, pretending you don't feel the pain? It's such a shame. I got a cup, I fill it up with whiskey in the hopes of drowning out your memory. And oh, it works, especially in the mornings when the bright lights and the headaches in your face are all I see. I tell my friends they ought to set me up, and when I stumble into church I lie, pretend I'm finding peace. I got a line, I practice it in private, so when people ask about me I'll somehow make them believe I'm moving on. I still think about you when I hear Willie Nelson sing of embers in the rain, and I was wrong. What good are convictions when you're grasping at the fire, pretending you don't feel the pain? It's such a shame. Shame.
Sympathy's a virtue that I ain't got the energy
pretending you don't feel the pain. It's such a shame.